Okay, how's it going, guys? So, quick chat about lowering the Tenere 700. So I just did it today. So basically, this is the lower seat option. It's just basically got a bit more of a out of there. And I did know I had a quick ride with it with just the lower seat on, and I did notice a little bit of a difference straight away just with that. So even though it's an expensive option, I probably would give that a little go. I'll report on the comfort in a little bit, but so far it's been fine. You do feel like you're in a bit of a hollow and not so much on a cushion anymore in terms of comfort. And then I added these longer BW3Y dog bones, which comes with the lowering kit, and that drops down the back suspension. I haven't done the forks yet, so the forks are still set a standard, so I will do that, but I'm kind of doing it in stages and then testing it all out as I go. Ideally you want to drop the front at the same time as the back, the same amount, so the geometry and the weight and everything all stays the same, I believe. But so at the moment it's just dropped the back down, and so I have noticed it. I've only been riding around a little bit this afternoon in its current setup, and yes, I'm still not flat footing, believe it or not. So I'll show you a couple of clips in a second of what my kind of leg reach looks like. It's definitely better, and my confidence has gone up with it. Like, it almost seems like it's not as heavy. I know it sounds silly, but it feels like you can throw it around a bit more, but I think that is probably just confidence, because I know I can put my foot down. So I know a lot of people, say, "Oh, just learn to ride properly," yada yada yada. They give you an earful when you mention a lower kit. But at the end of the day, if you physically can't reach the ground easily, you are more likely going to have an over and put it down on the ground. So, if it helps your confidence, and your confidence makes you a better rider, at the end of the day, I'm just going to lose a tiny bit of ground clearance here with the lowering kit and dropping the fork slightly. So, at the moment I'm feeling like this was the right move to put the lowering kit on. But it's early days. I still haven't taken this thing off-road. Going to be doing that soon. I just wanted to fiddle around with it a little bit first. But let's just quickly talk about adding the lowering kit and jacking up the bike, because I've been doing a little bit of research with that today. So I was just about to jack up the bike on the scissor stand, and then I noticed people online saying, "Oh, don't do that, you can't do that. The default cowl, this bash plate cowl thing that comes with it, it's not strong enough, and these support arms that it's bolted to are bolted to here and bolted to here, and they're not really structural. So that's a bit of an issue. So I would have struggled to be able to, obviously swap my dog bones out if I can't lift the bike up in the air." So what I did a little bit of research, and then I kind of there was mention of using a piece of wood, a bit of a plank basically, and the scissor jack to kind of support the engine. And it's very vague though, so it doesn't really explain how to do it. So if anyone knows the proper way of doing that, then please tell me. But what I did is I basically cut out a piece of plank and fit it between the cowl and the underside of the engine. So this here is the bottom. I don't know if you can see that, but that is the bottom of the engine. Let me come around the other side, see if that's a better view. So yeah, basically that big black lump in there is obviously the bottom of the engine, which is and as the engine is a structural part of the geometry, you've got the frame is attached to the engine's part of the strength of it, and it's a great big heavy metal lump. I presumed that was pretty strong, so that that is the bulk of the weight of the bike. So I wedged a piece of wood. See if I can get my hand in there without burning it, because it's quite hot. But I basically wedged a piece of wood in there between the cowl and the engine block. And to do that, because this is in the way, I did take the cowl off. so I think that's a good system. It certainly looked pretty solid when I did it. So yeah, 4 little bolts, take the cowl off, put the piece of wood in place inside the cowl, and then put the cowl back on, and then basically, so the weight is then supported by the cowl, this frame, and the engine block, and what happens is the cowl gives a little bit and then squashes onto the wood, and then so basically most of the weight is being held up by the engine. Now you may ask me, well, why did you put the cowl back on? The reason why I did that is that the width of the cowl and this frame is obviously wider than the small little width of the bottom of the engine, and then you've got the exhaust on the other side. So it actually makes it more stable having the cowl on and the wood all sandwiched in, basically. Now, do I know what I'm doing? No, but I think I did a pretty safe thing. I had the bike jacked right up. Just on the off chance that something gave, I also put a strap onto the frame and then put it around a fence, and then a strap on the other side over here, and then attach that to the back of my van. So the thing physically couldn't fall over either. So even if something suddenly went kunk and and it was suddenly unstable, then it couldn't sort of fall over. So I think I did the best job that I could. Anyway, just thought I'd talk about that because there seems to be mixed information about how to get these things jacked up in the air. I'm guessing I just need to get a superior, more heavy duty bash plate, which will take, it's obviously not going to improve the strength of these bits, but it's going to be bolted onto more places and it's going to be more rigid. So generally it's just going to give, more support, so you can scissor jack up the bike easier with and safer. But I still think that's a pretty good solution. Like I say, wedging a bit of wood down in there between the bottom of the engine and the bottom of the cowl, and then jacking it up. Like I said, you do have to remove the cowl in order to get the wood in there because there's too many things kind of in the way, so you can't just slide it in. Anyway, enough about that. So I'll take it for a quick ride now and just give you my thoughts with, like I say, the new seat and the lowered rear. By the way, the preload, I've got it, I think it's on like 9, so it's around about standard. I haven't been fiddling with it too much because I haven't done the whole, measure the sag, and I haven't done any of that stuff yet. I'm an average kind of weighted guy. I'm about sort of 12-13 stone, which is probably a little bit heavier than what this thing's set up for. But either way, it's roughly about standard. I think standard is at 10 clicks, and I think I'm at 9 or 10, so it's roughly standard as it is. Right, anyway, let's hop on the bike and I'll talk you through my leg reach and everything as it is, and then, like I said, tomorrow hopefully I'll get round to doing the fork drop, and then we'll look at it again, and then I'll decide whether I want to undo all that and put it back as it was. So yeah, let's have a quick ride. So I'm not flat foot both side, but I'm sort of flat foot and toe. But I'm basically on the balls of my feet on both sides pretty comfortably, and a very slight tilt on a completely flat foot, but then the other foot goes onto its toe. So that's, like I say, with the lowering seat and the lower seat and lowering kit, but I haven't touched the forks yet. The forks are standard. Let's have a little ride and see how it feels. Ruining the grass. It's actually quite bumpy along here, so just stand up a minute. Actually, no, I'll sit down, get used to the harder, less padded seat. Yeah, it does feel quite jolty, like slightly more so than with the standard seat. Beautiful evening today. Got speed bumps all along here, so I normally stand up over speed bumps, but I'm gonna sit down and just feel what it feels like on this harder seat. Yeah, it definitely is more of a jolt than with the standard seat. Without a shadow of a doubt. But it's, you're kind of like down in a hollow a little bit. But it feels okay, and it kind of feels more kind of chuckable. Well, there's a rough road I could have tested out on. There's always loads of gravel in this corner, so be careful. slow down so there's not too much wind noise. Okay, so let's do some slow maneuvers. So here's a level, no one behind me. Here's a level little bit of ground here. Yeah, everything just feels easier, just pulling out, you can just dab your foot down. I think before I was permanently worried about whether my foot was going to go into a hole. I'd probably still be in trouble if my foot went in a proper hole. But yeah, I'm liking this so far. Whether it's necessary is an entirely different thing, but I do feel more confident. I need to be doing like really slow stuff really, don't I? Let's go up this bumpy little track here where it's got a few kind of lumps and holes, and do some dabbing, just sort of practice. Don't need to be dabbing obviously, but let's say I'm on a really slippy sort of downhill section and I just need to quickly put my foot down. I can actually do it. Like even if the front wheel's on a bit of a peak, I can still dab the ground. So this does make a difference. In fact, while we're here, let's test the off-road. I haven't done that yet. I think the yeah, off-road comes up and it turns the ABS off. Let's test with the back brake now, see how different that feels. Actually, yeah, that does feel a little bit better. In my first chat about the brake, I was saying how disappointed I was in the back brake. But that immediately feels sharper as soon as you turn the ABS off. So maybe the ABS is just constantly interfering with the back brake, even when it doesn't need to be. Maybe that's why it feels just so mushy. It's still not amazing, but I think that definitely does improve it. Obviously you still want to have ABS on for the road, but that is actually quite good to know. Alright, I meant to be testing out this seat, alright. Apologies, I'm getting distracted. Yeah, this is a pretty bumpy road now, and I'm putting most of my weight on my arse. It's totally doable. Yes, I have lost a little bit of comfort, but if you're gonna weigh up between comfort and confidence, my confidence has gone up, my comfort has gone down. That's a no-brainer, guys. That really is a no-brainer. Whoops. Helps if I'm in gear. Let's do some more dabbing. Just kind of. It's still a reach. Don't get me wrong. It is still a reach because my stupid genetics have cursed me with hobbit legs. Here, let's let it. This is where I actually physically drop it now. I'm putting a bit of weight onto one leg. It still feels like it still feels heavy compared to my last two bikes, because it is literally 50 kilograms heavier than them. But I think this is a win, guys. I would thank you. Yeah, the surf's still quite good, I think. So there's loads of surfers around at the moment. Yeah, at the moment, lowering kit for the win. I mean, everyone's different. If you're like an extremely capable off-road guy, you probably laugh at me having to put a lowering kit on my bike when I can physically touch the ground at all, because they ride, much higher. But it's I'm still a pretty new rider, and I need little things to help my confidence. and I think this has done it. I will have a go at doing the forks tomorrow, and yeah. But anyway guys, there you go. I just thought I'd give a little bit of feedback on the lowering kit. It kind of, because you, I will say this though, yeah, because you're in a hollow which is in one specific spot, it kind of forces you slightly further forward than I would normally sit cruising. I would normally sit back a little bit, but then it kind of feels like you're on a slide, so it feels like your bum's sliding, wants to slide back into that hollow again. So that is something to be aware of. It kind of pins you down. But I mean, for all the off-road stuff, I'm going to be standing up anyway, so it makes neither here nor there. It just means that your cruising motorway position is slightly compromised by being forced a little bit forward. You can still sit back here, but then you can feel the material of your pants pulling back because your bum wants to slide back into that little cave in the seat, that little concave. Thank you. Anyway guys, I'll sign off there. But confidence wise, I've probably gone up a couple of notches. My comfort's gone down one notch, and my confidence has gone up 2 notches. So that's my summary so far. And in terms of ease of fitting, pretty easy. So I want to lift stock Tenere, stock bash plate with a scissor lift, and what I'm thinking is, obviously the you know, this is the bottom of the engine here, so I've wedged in some wood. It's going to be difficult to show you. I've basically wedged in one of these between the bottom of the skid plate and the bottom of the engine, so that if this compresses and folds, it just sinks down onto the weight of the onto the bottom of the engine. Do we think that is safe or not? See if we can get a better look on this side. Not really, but yeah. So basically a wedge of wood stuck in, there you go, that's the best view. Stuck in between the bottom of the engine and the bottom of the bash plate. So is that safe or is that not safe to jack up?